to discuss, deliberate, and act on the proposed sale of the village of property to the village of North Bend, as we discussed on Wednesday night. No other business is to be discussed or addressed at this meeting, so we're specifically discussing the sale of the property. They did their presentation Friday night, as we all know. Mr. Rahal informed Mayor Sammons, and Mayor Sammons came back with a counteroffer of $400,000. Do you have anything you'd like to say on that, Mr. Rahal?
No, that summarizes it pretty much. I told him that the concerns of council were the short notice and that the unknown current value of the property, and that was well below the last appropriated.
Can I interrupt you for a second? Mr. Burns had a suggestion to record the meeting, given the technical difficulty we're seemingly having.
Recording in progress.
Thank you.
Okay. Maybe we should take a roll call too.
All right, roll call, please, Mr. Brett.
Mr. Burns.
Unmuted. Here.
Ms. Myers.
Here.
Ms. Meister.
Here.
Mr. Williams.
Here.
And Ms. Boyce.
Here.
Okay, so as we're recording, to quickly recap, this is a special meeting of the Village of Cleves Council. Purpose is to discuss, deliberate, and act upon the proposed sale of village property to the village of North Bend. No other business will be discussed or addressed at this meeting. Again, we had an initial offer to buy the property from North Bend on Wednesday night, and they did a presentation that was at $200,000. Mr. Rahal informed Mayor Sammons, and he came back on Friday later in the day with a counteroffer of $400,000. So that's what we're here to discuss. Anybody have any thing to kick off the meeting other than Mr. Rahal?
Mr. Rahal, did you? Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to ask if Mike was able to reach the county and see what they said about the short time frame.
And any update on appraisal?
No updates on appraisals other than what the first comments, which were that he would assume that it had increased in value. He wasn't sure how much, given the commercial and the limited use of the property. The count. What was the question about the county?
Not the county. Shabbat's office. Sorry.
Oh, I called Shabbat's office Thursday morning. Whoever was working in the office, I was looking for Joe Abner, who's his main contact with the community, and he wasn't available. But the person that was working didn't know anything about the grant and was supposed to get back to me, but hasn't to date.
And do we have the full information? Because I'm sure with everybody new on council, and we haven't looked at it for years, in regards to the exact restrictions on that property for when we took it. I mean, is it just like that there has to be some kind of park on it, or, because as we discussed Wednesday, they were talking about last time putting in a restaurant into the facility and everything else. Have we reviewed what those restrictions are and specific to that property from when we took it?
We're still looking for the original contract with the county. I've got to call into the county to see if they have a copy. But again, the property was given to us in order to be used for recreational purposes. It was really the only stipulation.
So not park specific, just recreation.
Yes.
Am I correct that they want to make an interpretive center and a bike trail?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
We could have contingencies in the offer that would say contingent upon the county approving this use I would think would be appropriate. Just a thought.
I would say that, and the contingency based on them getting this grant to move forward.
Yes.
That contingency is in the draft that they sent us already. Not the part about the county, but the part about that they have to get the grant.
Okay.
So if that grant doesn't go through, the sale doesn't go through?
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't believe they have the cash available to buy it, or they don't want it unless they get the grant, from what I understand from Mayor Sammons. But we would put that in the contingency.
Is there?
Because
Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
So right now we have the boat club that rents from us, and we have a 90-day notice with them if we want to terminate that.
Yes.
How, does that affect anything with this?
I think that should be another contingency, that we would give them 90 days notice, that they wouldn't, after closing of the property, if they receive the grant and if it's approved. Just in fairness to our leasers.
Yeah, and then is there any stipulation about refunding? I mean, I'm assuming we'd refund any money that they paid for this year, correct?
The contract just says 90 days notice from either party, but yeah, I think that would be a fair thing to do.
Right, and then we'll have to note that that 5K plus increase isn't going to be coming into,
Right.
our general fund and our accounts every year moving forward. I get it. I understand the increase in the amount, but that is something that'll have to be adjusted if this was approved. I mean, I get it. They're claiming good faith between the communities. They were dead set on 200 Wednesday night, and then it changed to 4. We will, if it goes through, as they discussed, the museum will move over to the interpretive center. We'll lose that out of the village. And with Kevin's questions asking, about adjusting the numbers in the quote to accommodate for the higher price on the value of the property. I mean, good faith between the communities could have been a 600K. None of it's coming out of their general funds. I guess I'm also just questioning the value between what value is coming to the village as well, because we don't get income tax from folks who, from the residents of the village or people who work in the village, from the businesses that we have and things like that. I guess just trying to determine how we're, how we make this a community joint effort or not, since they will own the property. And I really don't feel that we would have a say in much of anything. And, rightfully so, I guess, once they purchase the property, I mean, who are we to say what they can and can't do with their, the property that they would then own. So, yeah, I mean,
I had a concern about the Miami Hall, the museum, I think it's called the Harrison Sims Museum. I did find out over the weekend that their board, that museum is owned by a board, and they did write a letter of support for this interpretive center.
Thank you. Yeah. So then, I mean, we would lose that. I mean, would Miami Township be willing to, sell us the town hall then? They wouldn't sell it to us for anything less than the value that it was worth. We don't even know what.
Ms. Myers, I think we're limited to speaking about this particular property here at this time.
No, I'm sorry. I'm just saying, like, it as an example,
Mm-hmm.
No one would. We don't even know what it's worth.
The 13, their offers for 13 acres. Is that correct, for 400,000?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And the purpose is the interpretive center, which the 2 presidents or whatever, I don't want to get into what they're going to do with it, but it's just 13 acres for 400,000. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not sure that interpretive center is going to go on that particular spot in the property. Looking at the plans, it looks like it's, if you're looking down at it to the perspective, it'd be on the west side of that MSD facility.
I did drive over there over the weekend, and at MSD plant is right there. It's pretty close, and then that Ohio River does flood in the spring. As far as that 13 acres, when you actually look at the property, and I think North Bend should be commended for their vision, because it's just there's not a lot happening on that 13 acres, and I commend North Bend for having a vision. Instead of just seeing what's there, they see what can be.
Yeah, and as far as that being the floodplain, they're talking about a Corps of Engineers coming in to create some kind of barrier wall to border the river to keep it from flooding on that property.
That's expensive. I mean, I think that would be expensive, and I think North Bend is to be commended for having a vision for these two presidents that Ohio is known as the home of the presidents or whatever, and then they want to highlight the fact that two of the presidents are from this area. I think it's a nice, it's a very nice vision.
Put in my 2 cents. So them, being willing to adjust the offer was important to me. I think that we are operating on best information we have is our initial estimate. And if I have to think on that and, try to calculate what I don't know about the value of the property, we say, okay, it probably increased. That's probably true. But and we were also told it probably did not increase at the rate, say, a residential property would. Personally, my personal property has gone up, 20%? I don't think that would necessarily apply to the applications that are available for this property. But even if so, we're talking around $100,000 then, right? That I would put that as kind of like an upper limit. So while we are uncertain about that, we already mentioned, but I think it's time to emphasize that there are opportunity costs in overlooking this. So, we don't know what, if we put it out to bid, if somebody would get in a bidding war over this 13 acres, but nobody's really knocking down the door either. Here is somebody who's coming to us with a complete package with what is ballpark reasonable offer for it, again, with a vision to do something for the community that I do think we would benefit from. So when I start looking at what's our potential downside on, what's our potential fiscal irresponsibility if we go ahead with something like this, compared to the opportunity cost, I think we would clearly be at a point where we are neglecting something good for our community for an unknown. So if somebody wants to pump $10 million of development into our area, we've never seen anything like that. We don't have a nice polished park that close to us. The closest is what, Fernbank? So we literally have to drive 7 miles from any point in Cleves to go take a walk in nice polished places. We're working on our parks. I'm devoted to that. But finished product with accessible other activities, I do clearly think it's something that our residents would consume. I don't think we can predict the financial impacts either way. When I kick this around in my mind, okay, people come down there. I don't believe the road trips and the heavy traffic I don't believe that presidential interest is that high. I'm sure that there's something. I don't think that our local presidential history community is lying about that, but we're not going to be Miami Beach. So if people are coming here, are they going to go to their food trucks, or say they build any other kind of, going out, a restaurant or whatever? Are they necessarily going to hop across the way and go to Nick's? No. In fact, I could easily say maybe that would be bad for our few existing businesses. But on the other side, that traffic might, and that development might very well benefit. If I had to guess at this point, I would be 60% confident that it would be beneficial to our local businesses. Mostly on the idea that there'll just be more activity in general, more things to do. I don't know how much more cogently I can make the case, but for me, I think that they're no longer asking us to take it on the chin to get this started, really. It's delivering to us a way to pretty responsibly dispose of the property, add something to our coffers now or soon, when it may be important to have that money. And when it comes down to it, we're not doing anything with that property. We have no vision for that property. If we decided that we were really going to try to capitalize on it, there's a lot of hazards to that too, right? That, okay, now we got to try to drum up interest. This is a commercial person really interested in it, can really be applied to it. So the downsides are the hazards that we would have trying to dispose of it on our own, the cost of having the opportunity cost of losing a nice installation, and those are both reasons to do it. The only downside is the unknown amount that we may get from a stronger appraisal, in my view. And we give up control. They kept offering, come in and talk to us about it. No, it's your thing. Too many chefs. I don't want a part of it. Maybe somebody on council does, but so those are the parameters. I think the weight right now is that we would lose too much by passing on this.
I mentioned the one point of contention was the actual value of the property currently. If we were to assume that 20% is what the average properties in this area has increased over the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, perhaps a 10% increase in the 400,000 offer might be appropriate, just to be safe and not to over gouge, if you will. But that's just a thought. And the other issue is that this project, even when it was presented a couple of years ago, is going to take several years. There's going to have to be a lot of infrastructure. It's got to be the building of either a flood wall or the promenade. So it's not just going to happen overnight. We'll probably own the property for quite a while. And that's assuming that they're going to get the grant also. So just a couple thoughts there that I would pass along.
No, I completely agree with Kevin. I'm very happy that they, came up on their offer. I don't, appreciate them to be able to do that. I just, have a hard time, having council, forced into the decision at such last minute short notice. I understand it has just arisen and they've been put on this unfortunate, time crunch as well. And I know that we haven't been marketing that property either. So, we have no idea the potential or not, because we haven't been doing that. We've been trying to, as Kevin said, work on our parks and try to do things here in the village that would be nice to start, working on and everything. But I understand that we don't have the means and the opportunity or anything at this time for that property as well.
My thoughts on the topic are, I agree with Kevin, everything that Kevin said. We have never had any real plans or vision or any purpose to do anything with that property. Honestly, I don't foresee us anywhere in the near future ever discussing any type of development for that property. I was happy to hear that they came up to the $400,000 offer. In looking at it, considering housing increase, property values, and that probably not increasing as much. 15% of the 400,000 is only $60,000. So, I like their vision. I think it is a good opportunity to make some improvements in our area. I would be okay with accepting the $400,000 and contingent on all the contingencies we've discussed, but letting North Bend proceed with accepting that and letting them proceed with their project. I also would add that if this does go through, if we do all agree to sell the property, that money should be put in investments. That's my only thoughts on the matter.
Okay. I pretty much agree with everybody else on that. I am very pleased with going from 200,000 to 400,000 on a piece of property that North Bend has a vision and a plan on, and that we have not. I would be supportive in North Bend's project and the selling of the property for 400,000.
I'll go ahead and, am I allowed to make a motion at this time to sell the 13-acre piece of property along the Ohio River to the village of North Bend for $400,000?
So Judith, where we kind of are, since we're doing this via Zoom and we don't have a resolution prepared, what Mayor Sammons had suggested, with the understanding that we're all up against it and some people are out of town, et cetera, is you can call it a motion. It's basically a straw poll. It's a show of good faith. And then what we would do is, in the event that you all say, yes, this is what we want to do, which it sounds like that's the direction this is going, we would send them a letter that indicated that council has agreed in principle with these contingencies to sell you this. They're going to attach that to the grant. And then at the next meeting, we can do the actual resolution to formally do the sale. So however you all want to couch it, but that's where we are, just by virtue of us being up against it on the clock.
Would the mayor call for a vote?
So is it, Doug, you said it's a straw vote, so is it just Jim going around and asking each of us?
I'm saying essentially what you did the other night. If you want to make a formal motion, and then we can we can formalize it at the next meeting when we can draft the resolution. Totally fine. However we're doing this, it's fine. I just wanted to make sure Judith understood, because obviously we don't have a resolution. We don't have any of that stuff prepared. Because of the short nature or short notice and doing this via Zoom and all that we're going to have to do it again, just for the formality of having the resolution. But in principle, that's completely fine.
So, all right, we just need a letter to North Bend stating that council's on board. And I think if Jim, you want to go around and take a poll, we can get the feel for council, and then if the feel is to move forward, then we'll draft that letter so they can have that for their proposal.
So just to clarify what we would be taking the poll on, it would be to allow Doug and Mike to continue to work with North Bend to finalize the contract for review and consideration at the next council meeting in May. Is that correct?
Doug, should it be more formal than that?
I think that essentially that we have agreed in principle, or that's what they're voting, is to agree in principle to sell the property to North Bend for $400,000, contingent upon the property being used for the park and Hamilton County approval, and then to allow us to, to continue to negotiate. Really wouldn't be the right word, but if we have to do any fine tuning with the contract, that would probably be more specific, because that's what they're going to need in their letter. Is that the Cleves Council has met, the Cleves Council has discussed the issue, and the Cleves Council has approved the sale of the property for $400,000. That's what, from what I can gather, that's what the federal government will need as part of their grant proposal. Is not that the administrator is allowed to continue to negotiate, but that council has met, council has accepted this offer. Here you go. And then we can get them the formal resolution at the next meeting that they can supplement with. But they'll, at that point, they'll have everything that they need to submit this. I think they have to do it on Wednesday.
Thank you, Doug. That'll help me get it correct in a minute. I appreciate it. Are we ready?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Burns.
Yes.
And Ms. Myers?
Yes.
Ms. Meister?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. Boyce?
Yes.
All right, you have a unanimous council.
And Mike, I don't think we asked or discussed even with Mayor Sammons and Councilwoman Fran Fromberger, if we're able to ask them if they have any kind of information on the timeline of when maybe will be getting information in regards to the review and the process. I don't know how long this will take for them to potentially get approved or denied, or so we kind of have an idea of what we're looking at for when we need to be, we can kind of put that in our back of our minds if it does get approved and the process. So when we're informing the boat club and everything else.
You can get that. I don't know if they know themselves, but we'll ask for that certainly.
Right. Yes. I mean, I didn't know if when Shabbat's office said, okay, if you get it submitted by this date, then we make a decision and a determination on yours or on all of them that have been submitted by this date and things like that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So being that we're kind of strapped for time, we're going to get that letter today.
Yes.
Do I need to come down there and sign that then? Does Doug need to sign it, or just you and me?
I think Mayor Sammons was just interested in something on our letterhead. Nothing official. Is that right, Doug?
That's right, because
formal.
I mean, we're strapped. Yeah, something formal. So, Mayor, if you could come down and sign it, I think that would probably be good. If both yours and Mike's signature on the letter, I think that helps them. But if you were out of town or something, then we're dealing with what we can deal with on the time constraints we have.
Yeah, no, I'm available. So just let me know when that letter's ready, Mike, and I'll come down there and sign it.
Okay, Doug, you want to forward the language? That'd be great.
Sure, I'll draft something up and email you as soon as we're done.
All right, thank you.
All right. Any further discussion, council? All right. I think that's a wrap. So nothing else. We have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Oh,
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Roll call, please, Mr. Brett.
Mr. Burns?
Mr. Burns was a yes.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
That's okay.
That hurt me.
Ms. Myers?
Yes.
Ms. Meister?
Yes.